America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a moment of silence for our first responders, our deployed troops, and tonight a special moment of silence for the people in North Carolina who lost their homes, and also the people in Los Angeles who lost their homes and are struggling. Thank you.
Should be on now, is it?
It's not on.
I hit the button.
It says it's on.
It takes a while to, okay. We'll give them turn this
Oh, there we go.
up here.
We welcome Burnell back. We had a moment of silence last month for his wife. Burnell lost his wife over the Christmas break. I want to announce that we had an executive session. It was to talk about the possible acquisition of a property, and it was also to meet with the attorney for the Devin Taylor lawsuit that we're involved in. Okay. First up on the agenda items, a presentation by Rose Fire.
Good evening.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess we do a public comment first. Does anyone have a problem if we swap them so that we can... Go ahead.
Last report that I get to do up here. Go over a couple numbers for you. Total calls for the month of December, 49. Average turnout time was 3 minutes and 10 seconds from the time we got the call to the time we were on the street. Calls in New Freedom Borough were 12. Man hours spent on incident scene was 87 hours by 16 of our people. $0 fire loss for the month of December, no significant events. Stats for calendar year 2024, total calls for service, 579. That's a lot of sirens going off there. Average turnout time for the year was actually 1 minute and 53 seconds. That's well below a national standard there. Calls in New Freedom Borough for the year were 171, with 94 of them being to assist EMS. Namely because our EMS was on another call. Man hours spent on the scene for the year was 1,582 hours. Total fire loss for the borough was probably as low as it's been in a very long time, with $67,800 based on 2 incidents. We had 0 firefighter injuries, which is always great. We only gave away 2 smoke detectors out of this whole year, so everybody either has one or doesn't want to step up with them. What I'd like to do now is just take a minute, introduce you to the 2 new principal officers for our department. Sorry, Mary's almost taking this way. I'm going to introduce President Rich Palmer first. Come on up. President Palmer is our new president. He served as vice president before. He's been a member since 2018. He's also served as an assistant fire chief position. He's an operations manager for Strine's Heat and Air Conditioning out of York. And he lives in the borough.
Welcome. Thank you. For stepping up.
Thank you. Next up is my operational branch, who's our new fire chief, who is our old fire chief. Took a year off to get some classes in. Chris Boyer's been a member since 2004. He joined as a kid, basically. Like I said, he's past chief. He's a job foreman for a construction firm that's right around New Freedom. Anyway, he's back in business as the chief, so welcome him aboard.
Welcome. Thank you for stepping
Absolutely.
back.
That's all we have, so you all have a good night. Take care.
I'd like to thank Chief Woods for his dedication in the last year. Thank you very much, sir.
Appreciate
We
that.
appreciate it. On
Thanks a
behalf
lot.
of the borough and council.
Thank you all very much.
Great, you're welcome anytime.
Take care, y'all.
Next up is public comment for agenda items. Sorry again? Oh, sorry. Public comment for agenda items. Okay. Approval of minutes for regular meeting held December 9th. Entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes from December 9th, 2024.
Second.
Discussion, corrections, additions.
Under unfinished business for stormwater channel on page 2, the last sentence, it says council determined no additional responsibility. I think that was not determined, it was left at, it would be left on the agenda till seeding in the spring.
Yeah, do you recall that?
That's two separate issues.
Yeah, it is two separate issues.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. There was no consensus taken by the council, and seeding would be left till spring.
The seeding of the area is not the area in question that Mrs. Russell's concerns.
It's not really part of the stormwater channel that we were addressing, which was coming from the road.
The seating was around the fence,
The seeding's for the swale.
the swale, okay.
But it's for the stormwater channel project, right? The seeding?
For the channel, but the stormwater channel doesn't have any relation to Mrs. Russell's concern, which is quite a ways down the property. I mean, maybe,
It was talked about all the same.
it was,
It
yeah,
was
and
all-
maybe that's.
all
maybe
in there.
Well, that's because it was approached at that time before council had opportunity to discuss it.
So removal of last sentence and addition that will be left on the agenda until seeding in the spring.
I don't recall what meeting, but I know it was mentioned that the item would stay on the agenda until seeding occurred in the spring, but it was before the December meeting. I think after the work was done, which would have been the end of September,
It was,
had to be done.
it was talked about in this paragraph of talking. It was on the,
I know it's
I
on the
rewatched
minutes.
it.
Right. But again, I'm telling you, there was a meeting prior to this where it was also mentioned that it would stay on the agenda.
So it's going to stay on the agenda until spring?
That was already predetermined before the conversation on December 9th.
Right, okay.
But here it's closing it out, saying council determined no additional responsibility. That wasn't done in that meeting.
But we're arguing about two separate different items. The issue with the swale was the construction that was completed by H&H. They need to come back in the spring.
So what you're saying is this agenda item will stay on the agenda until spring?
That's why it's on there again.
Right, so we are, yeah, so we're saying the same thing. I'm not sure why we're,
But the last sentence should be removed.
no, I think council did determine that we're not taking any additional responsibility, and I think that we're saying it's going to stay on the agenda. It's two separate issues, and it's going to stay on the agenda until we get to spring and make sure everything is okay. So It's not coming off the agenda.
Well, council's representative of who?
Are you saying we didn't take a vote? I'm not sure what.
Oh, I'm just saying it wasn't up for discuss, like, there was no, should we leave it on, should we leave, there was no talk, it's just an arbitrarily put on here that it's done. And I don't, that's not a fair representation of the meeting, that council determined no additional responsibility, because,
But we're not taking it off the agenda. It's staying on the agenda until we check it in the spring. We're saying it's two separate things. There's no additional responsibility other than the seating, which is going to stay on the agenda. I think we're saying, though, I think we're all saying the same thing, just in two different ways.
well, I'm not comfortable with leaving the last sentence there. If we're saying the same thing, the last sentence can come out.
This is a motion to approve the minutes, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Was there a motion and a second?
Yes.
Yes, that's
Okay.
why it was
So
discussion.
someone's asking, you're asking to make a motion to amend
Yes.
the minutes, is that correct?
Correct.
Is there a second to the motion to amend the minutes per Councilwoman Burek's statement?
Okay, any other discussion on the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No,
My vote is aye. Treasurer's report for December 24th. I would entertain a motion to accept the minutes pending audit.
Make a motion to approve December 2024 treasurer report pending audit. Second.
Any questions or comments on the treasurer's report?
I think we had discussed at one of the other meetings that it might be beneficial to put each particular fund's revenues followed by the expense sheets, so we don't have to go back and forth. It's a little easier to see if we made money, lost money.
I think we had that discussion for the budget.
Is that,
But if
a
council
possibility?
desires, yeah, this is,
it's up to council, but I think would be beneficial to.
I don't have a problem assembling it that way. It's, these reports are exported, so I can
Yeah,
move them around in
that's
any
what I
different
thought.
order.
It's just,
Why don't we try it, and everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Okay.
Which one do you want to see first?
it doesn't matter, it's just so that the expense follows the revenue and we can,
I think you just answered the question.
easier to follow.
All right. Any other questions on the treasurer's report?
page 13. I just have a question, quick question, on reimbursement for damage, $160 to Ronald Gillis. What that was for?
I think there was damage to a vehicle as part of the leaf collection process. That was just reimbursement for that.
Did our vehicle hit their vehicle?
I believe it just had to do with the situation with the leaves being, I think they were overly dry at that time. You remember?
I wasn't there, but the leaf machine broke down, the tube blew apart and covered his vehicle, and the way that it ended up needed to be taken care of.
How was it taken care of?
Detailed,
Yeah,
So we needed car detail.
correct.
yes.
Okay.
Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? My vote is aye. Stormwater Channel North Constitution. That won't come up till spring, correct?
Right, there's no update except the item is going to stay on the agenda until spring when the remaining seating is complete. We can close the project out with DEP and the Army Corps of Engineers.
Legal analysis for code of ordinances.
So this was previously approved by council, the authorization for advertisement, but it occurred quite a few months ago, and we're waiting for general code to revise those two areas in the code for council's direction, which was the wording of borough manager, administrator, and how snow emergencies are declared in the borough. So those changes were both incorporated. General code sent new documents out. That's what you have tonight. I just thought it would make sense to go through and ratify that authorization for advertisement because it occurred a few months ago. So that's why it's in front of you tonight.
So I would entertain a motion to consider ratifying the authorization to advertise the proposed code ordinance adoption.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Those changes were made.
Yes, on page 4, item number 8. I just found a couple things I thought didn't seem right. It said the title Rec Council has changed to Borough Council.
Those situations in the code where it referred to decisions about how parks are maintained and what programs are permitted at the park was previously held by the New Freedom Rec Council, so that change was made to say it should be the borough's decision now, because the New Freedom Recreation Commission is dissolved. The Regional Rec Commission would not have the say over things that occur in the borough's parks, or how we're supposed to operate those parks.
And the other question I had was under curfews. I'm trying to find it. I should have flagged. I put a note in here, but I can't find it.
Oh, it's,
A3.
yeah, A3.
Page what?
At the bottom, it's A-3.
Yeah, I can't find it right now, but it was, the time was 6 PM to 9 PM. I just thought that, should one of them be AM and the other one PM?
See it on,
Was that for the park?
Yeah, it just said under curfew.
Under curfew, it only addresses the amount of the fine.
Okay.
So there may be a
There
different
was
section.
something in there that said
Okay.
something about 6 PM.
Yes,
9
6 PM to
PM.
9 PM. Okay.
Perhaps that was removed on that basis, but let's look at that. So on chapter 149 for Parks and Recreation,
Yeah.
there is a reference to
That's
time,
it. 6 to 9.
I'm sorry, what page are you on? now?
A6.
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 I think what that's saying is that it starts at 6 PM during standard time, and at 9 PM at daylight savings time. It's not between those times.
Oh, I see.
One starts when it gets dark early at 6 o'clock. When it's in the summer, it's 9 o'clock is when it starts. I believe that's what it's saying.
Yeah, it actually,
Right.
parenthetically, it does say daylight savings time.
Right.
They're gonna get rid of it anyway? I hope so.
That was the only 2 questions I had.
Yeah, I
Could-
agree on that.
Could I ask there where it says about, go to page 4. Filing with copy of code, at least one copy of the code and postbound volume shall be filed with the ordinance book in the office of the borough manager. Could we also have one of those up front?
it always is. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if, because if you're not here or
Yeah,
you're
no,
on
no, it
vacation,
has to be up there.
I thought it did.
Yep.
Okay, that's not saying
This
it's
is
always
per-
gonna be.
This is per the Borough Code. So that's what this, where this language comes.
These are really just changes.
Now, I guess the question is, should borough manager / administrator, since we made that change?
Is that under the,
Oh, geez.
what page are you at?
Page 4.
Yeah, code adoption 4.
Oh, that's not, I mean.
And it's
that's-
throughout, but
That's an easy change, I'll make that change before this.
it's in 111 too. On the next page. And 12.
Yeah.
Find replace.
I'll get it. I'll just, I'm gonna note that it was.
So with that change, are there any other questions prior to ratifying the authorization for advertisement?
We need an amended motion?
Um,
No?
It's just a map,
Alright. Just that.
unless it goes otherwise.
And we have changed the signature page, correct?
Yes.
Since it is an ordinance.
So all in favor for advertising?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
My vote is aye. Okay, Paul Smith Library. I'm not even sure where to start. I think we mentioned some of this before. We did a set of meeting minutes for the meeting with Christian Phillips Hill. The minutes talk about what York County Library System wants to do with Paul Smith, cutting hours, and basically putting them on as a branch library as opposed to a member library. Most of the board, actually all of the board at Paul Smith is against that. I think as a group, the municipalities and the librarians as a group were against that. We're looking at possibly increasing the funding donation to Paul Smith, but as a caveat, everybody wanted to make sure that the Paul Smith Library is going to remain a member library and under the control of the Paul Smith Library Board. I tried to get an update today. York County Library System is not responding to Buck Buchanan, who is kind of the ad hoc leader of the group. Does anyone have any questions on the minutes or on where we are status-wise?
There will be a meeting with the York County Commissioners, am I correct?
Well, the first step was trying to have a meeting with York County Library System to actually establish what their time schedule is and where they are in this whole process. So we were trying to get back to them. That meeting was supposed to happen in January, and we're running out of time in January. So, again, Buck is trying to follow up with them. But yes, the second step would be to then set up a meeting with York County Commissioners and hopefully Christian Phillips Hill's office so that we can figure out what our rights are, or what the Paul Smith's library rights are in actuality. So Shrewsbury Borough has increased their funding to $25,000. I think we're at 17? Is that right? No, we were at
10.
10. We were at 10, and they've asked us to match their funding, which would take us to 25. That would be a discussion for a different day because, as I said, I think everyone pretty much agrees that if the money is not going to stay in Southern York County, if the money then is going to go to the York County Library System, then we would have to be a little bit cautious about how we would fund Paul Smith. we would want that money to increase the hours for our library, not go to other libraries in the York County Library system. That's kind of a summary. There's a lot of stuff going on.
When is the next public meeting? Or
That's-
is there anything scheduled yet?
That's what I was trying to get today, and there is nothing scheduled yet. I will definitely make sure that we get the word out through Savvy Citizen, and I will send everybody on council an email as soon as I hear anything about a meeting. Even if it's just a local meeting with Paul Smith and Shrewsbury Borough.
I don't know if people really understand the amount of people that use the library system there. There's kids, there's grown-ups, kids in there using the computer, adults using the computer. It really is a good asset to have, especially with the one in Glen Rock closing. Or I don't know if they're going to try and reopen or what's going on with that situation, but.
Well, Glen Rock actually became they went from member status to a branch. So it's very doubtful that York County Library System is going to open them again.
They're not going to touch that.
I don't think they will. Yeah, you're 100% correct, though. I mean, there's a lot of use, and the options are to stay a member, if York County Library System will let us, to become a branch, which we don't really want to because we lose all control, or to become independent, which will cost us a lot more money. We would lose $80,000 of state and county funding, and we would lose all of the interlibrary loan capability, which a lot of people go into a library and they want a specific book, and we might not have it at Paul Smith, but they might have it somewhere else, and then we could pull that book in.
Yeah.
So, and we would lose all the software support from the online card catalog. So it would really be kind of messy for Paul Smith to continue as an independent library.
And I would suggest that, I know this was a lot of reading, but go through this, and I think you'll be surprised at how well used our local library is compared to some other libraries. It's just,
That's what I'm
We
saying.
are fourth in the county.
Yeah.
fourth in the county, so that's a lot.
Southern York County is still very affluent, but there's still a lot of need out there for internet access and libraries and
Oh,
things
absolutely.
like that.
That's why I said they're used so much, they certainly should be
Yep.
included.
I mean, if
under
our,
the
if
York
our
County
library
system.
goes to less hours, so they're not even open for the kids after school and whatnot, what does that say to our kids about what we think about reading? I think reading and math are probably the two most important subjects. Anyone else have any questions? Does anyone?
Just from what I've heard, this association is not a good one to get into. I mean, I'm friends with someone who's on the library council in Glen Rock, and they had to pay an enormous amount when each month, even though they couldn't open their library due to damage. And apparently this organization is also financially in some trouble, so it just doesn't seem, you all agree and I agree that it's not a good deal if Paul Smith has to join them.
I mean, I'll say the number out loud. The York County Library Systems is currently operating at a $1.3 million deficit. Paul
So,
Smith Library is nonprofit, and their budget, basically, they're at a zero. They don't lose money, they don't make money.
so we don't want to give more money to them is what I'm saying.
Right, yeah, it'll kind of just disappear. And we are in kind of this, I keep saying we, but we are in this battle with Mason-Dixon Library too. They're our sister library. They are owned by their library board, and they are in Stewartstown. And they're going through the same thing. They want to cut their hours down to 20 hours a week. And they own their own library. I mean, it's kind of sad that the people put that amount of money and effort into building a building, and then they're turning around and saying, now we're just going to absorb you, and we're going to cut your funding, and elsewhere, so. So hopefully this will be one that everybody here can win. It'll be a win for everybody if we do. Now I'm done. Okay. New business, consider authorizing purchase of the 2025 Chevrolet Silverado 2500 from the Honda fleet in the amount of $53,273. This is a budgeted 2025 capital reserve expenditure, and it's for the, help me out again.
Water and highway.
Yeah, water and highway. I would entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Discussion?
Is this the same truck that was spoken about during budgeting that has 70 to 80,000 miles on it where they rust in the bed?
The same truck that we discussed during budget, yes, to replace that truck.
Yes.
Did we sell that truck?
Not yet.
Or are we gonna try to keep it as a, okay.
No, we'll sell it on municipal bid.
The discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
My vote is aye. Mr. Solicitor?
There's nothing we really have spent significant time on in the last month, but you have an invitation to municipal law, or municipal law 201. It's a presentation we do every other year. This is a more advanced kind of course. It's not as basic as when we do every other year that has to do with newly elected officials. You have an invitation. You can scan the little QR code to sign up. You can go to the email. And if you can't do any of that, call me and I'll get you on the list. All right?
QR code works.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Managers report?
Okay, everybody has a copy of the December 2024 Manager's Report in the packet. I won't go down through everything, just point out a couple of things at the top, and also included as the next agenda item was a notification we received at the end of December, which was good news to close out the year. Just when we thought that that project was dead in the water for Bailey Avenue Stormwater Project, we received the notification letter of a $313,000 award under FEMA's hazard mitigation. So that money comes from FEMA to PEMA and then down to the borough. So the only thing that's a little concerning is we're pretty glad that this project is already ready to go, because these funds need to be spent and the project closed out by September 10th. So
That's quick turnaround.
yeah, it's a very quick turnaround, but the homework was done ahead of time so that when we finally receive the notification, we're pretty much ready to go. So we have a call with FEMA tomorrow to go under the expense recording and to talk about different requirements through the grant process. So it's good information, another good award for the borough. We did submit the Section 904 Recycling Performance Grant, and from 2023 to 2024, we had a 17-ton increase in recycled materials. So that's, again, as a result of getting a little bit more education out to the residents, as well as going with the toter size recycling cans to increase the amount that can be recycled. So that money comes back to the refuse fund and helps offset increases in the refuse and recycling contract.
You're getting ready to put out a new newsletter. I wonder if it would help even more if we made sure people realize how their recycling efforts help the borough.
We have put that in newsletters. We try to hit something on the recycling guidelines at least once a newsletter, or one
Okay.
time throughout the
Gotcha.
newsletter, so just to make sure that it keeps in front of everyone.
That adds up.
Yeah. Just another quick update regarding the regional comprehensive plan. We did have a meeting in December, which was to review some housing information. That plan is what we believe to be finally crafted and ready for a public officials meeting. So the way this schedule should work is that we'll have a meeting with all the elected officials of all the municipalities to review the plan. Obviously, it'll have to be a public meeting. And then we'll move into a public meeting for all the residents at a later date, once all of the elected bodies have a chance to review. So it's still a couple months out, but we're finally headed in the right direction. And the next meeting for that is scheduled in February. So I'll be communicating any kind of updates along those lines. Other than that, you also have the updated grant application chart, and that did reflect those updates as far as the hazard mitigation award, as well as the recycling program, which was announced last month as well. So that closes out 2024.
Great job on the grants. It's amazing.
Yeah, it'll be nice on the chart when we can start showing a little bit more blue. We've been applied, we've been awarded. Now it's time to put that money towards the projects and get it moving. So that number will significantly change for 2025 with the wastewater treatment plant project as well. So.
Yeah, and that's a lot of work, so thank you.
I don't have anything else unless anybody has any questions.
Bottom of page 1, can you put that in English?
The GAD clause? So it's basically a form that the borough is required to submit, and maybe solicitor can tell me if I'm wrong, but it's basically saying the borough or as an employer cannot go out and negotiate or specifically pick out healthcare plans that would exempt certain conditions or certain procedures. So you can't go out and cherry pick certain plans that would exempt some of your staff from being able to have that service. Did I?
Yeah, in essence, you gotta comply with the federal law.
Yeah.
So you have to have coverage available to all.
Right.
All of your employees for non-existing positions.
It was,
Pre-existing, yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions? I have nothing. Mayor?
First of all, I'd also like to thank Andrew. This isn't in our packet, but we got it with the email. I thank you for taking the time to submit to us your record of things that you've done in the last week and things that you're planning on doing. It keeps us updated as to what's really going on currently in the borough, and I certainly appreciate that. We've talked about that, and I think that's important for everybody here, especially to know. Other than that, I'll probably hit a couple of things under EMS and fire, if you would like me to wait. Otherwise, I would like to also give some accolades to our public works for the latest work in the snowstorm. I know you guys worked your butts off, and we're very appreciative of the extra time that you put in away from your families to keep us safe.
Great. Do we have anything for?
I do. Last meeting, Ryan Ross asked about what makes the determination for something to be posted on Crime Watch. I spoke with Chief. There's different things that they look at, such as maybe if it's a bigger incident, if a lot of people know about it, to get the word out. The nature of the incident depends on if it's an active investigation, sensitive in nature, no juveniles, et cetera. So there's different varying criteria that they go through, and not everything is always posted. Choose.
Engineering report, warehouse.
What seems to be the holdup for the solar farm? I mean, they've already extended once, right? How many times can they extend their,
I think the ordinance says once.
and after that,
They gotta
Reapply.
they pull the permit and have to reapply? Okay, I'm just curious as to that.
I have a question, Davey, on that. I heard a news article on how a solar farm came to a town, bad storm, they were damaged. The people that took care of those walked away, left that town with that, all of those toxins going into the ground, and just walked away. What happens to us?
Well, I don't know, I don't remember if there was a zoning approval or not, but typically municipalities will ask for a bond for decommissioning. So it has to be removed, it can be removed. The other thing is if they don't own the land and it's under a lease, typically the lease will require the bond as well to have that cleaned up. There's typically no toxins in a solar panel because it's all inert materials. It's a silicone base and it doesn't leach into the water. That's at least what I understand from all the projects I've worked with and had presented to me. As to this company, I know that I have several other municipalities where there's a developer and they have stalled in those municipalities as well. But I don't know, do you guys have a bond in this case?
They purchased the land, correct?
Okay.
They did. Come over here. Do we have a bond?
Well, I don't
There would
remember
be-
anything about it.
There would only be a public securities bond on that
That would be given back to them? Once
after
it's
completion
completed?
of those public
So
securities.
we hold nothing in reserve if
There was
anything
nothing
goes south?
through that I recall out of the land development, the engineering board, or council's review of it. No.
Some municipalities have adopted ordinances that provide for a decommissioning bond to be placed as a kind of a condition of the building permit.
This council should look at that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that strictly for solar?
It is, the argument you get from the solar companies is you don't do that to anyone else, right?
Well, yeah, we do.
Who do you do a decommissioning bond for?
Well, not a decommissioning bond, a bond, you
A
know,
bond
any
for the
new,
public improvements,
yeah,
and once it's done, that's returned.
any new, like
What
the new
this is
development
yeah.
outside of town, they'll be issuing a bond to us.
But what this is a project bond that says it's in there for the life of the project. And so as long as that solar panel field is there, there's a bond that secures the borough that if they stop operating and they don't tear it down, then the municipality has a third-party bond in place to do that. There is no other use that I can think of that we do, a municipality does that too.
Is there anything we can do now after the fact that
Well, if they come back for another land development approval because has their plan expired or has it been?
The plan hasn't expired, it's the building permit that they
Okay.
applied for, but it could be a condition of the building permit.
Well, I don't know how we can do that under the building uniform construction code. But typically where you get the latitude is in the land development process, when you do that approval. So I understand what you're asking. I don't know that legally we can require it for the building permit. I will tell you, the rumor I have heard about this particular developer is either the projects are not gonna go forward or are gonna be purchased by another developer.
Can we put this on the agenda to look at this, to get something in place for the next one that comes and buys this lot that wants to do it, or if he comes back because he let something expire?
And I have a zoning.
Absolutely. think that's
I mean, I have zoning ordinances that address this kind of use, that make it a special exception in many places. So that one of the requirements is that they have to have that bond in place, or they'll post that bond, that they have a decommissioning plan, that they have an emergency management plan. So this is an issue around around the county and around the state, because now it's becoming more and more prevalent across the state. So-
Hey, Dave, if they sell that to another developer, another electric company, for lack of a better description, is there an opportunity there when, for the new purchaser to say, okay, you didn't do it for this guy, but you're the new owner, and here's what we're going to require?
The land development plan, as long as it was approved as a record, that's entitled to the 5 years of protection, so I don't think we could go back and kind of hamstring it that way. Again, unless we have something in our zoning ordinance that says that use, I think it'd probably be grandfathered in this instance. I think they'd be subject to the property maintenance code, though. That we could,
But if they go bankrupt,
we don't have a bond in place, but, yeah, certainly we would.
if they go bankrupt, there's no recourse.
Right. But if you have a bond, if there's a bond process, even if they go bankrupt, the courts have said, that's why you have a bond. Because in case they go bankrupt, that's.
So your recommendation is that we go ahead and try to develop an
I'll
ordinance
amend the
that...
I would amend the ordinance if that's a concern in the borough, yes, if you have large scale, or even small scale.
I agree that there's probably no,
Concern.
I agree that there's probably no
Can
toxins
we
in
put
the
that
solar.
on next month's agenda and you work with Andrew to
We did, we put it on
What
next
you-
month's agenda.
Yeah, we can get it.
what you
A
have?
draft ordinance. Well, I have about 8. So it all depends on how favorable or how.
Oh, pick one.
Well,
You know how our community works.
No, but I have some municipalities that are favorable to solar, and I have some that aren't so favorable to solar. So there's anywhere along that spectrum where there's ordinances out there.
Well, I agree that there's no toxins in the solar panels themselves, but there's
Could be cleaned up.
transformers and there's things that they have that would have PCBs and toxins in them. If they just sat there,
I will
then
tell you generally that the transformer stations are owned by the utility, the public utility. So
they
if
put
it's
those
a
in.
med ed station, it'll continue to be a med ed station. If it's a PPL up my way, then it's a PP&L station.
Okay.
Generally, they will not let a developer or contractor own the substation. That has to be owned by the utility itself. So generally, they're not as concerning because the utility's gonna use them or maintain them in some way, shape, or form. Because it's on their nickel.
You had mentioned that if they sell out to somebody else, another contractor, that they're locked into solar panels, because that's what's been approved. They inherit that, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I want to make sure that there can't be something else.
If there would be a different use, they'd have to change the use and come back with a
Yeah.
different land
Yeah,
development plan, yes.
Okay. I just want to ask a question to make sure.
good catch. Warehouse, any other questions? We don't have an era.
They had nothing to update.
Water system report. Questions? Okay, wastewater report. There is a revision on your table in front of you. It says in red, revised January 10th.
Is the only notation added in the wastewater treatment plant generator?
Correct. But yes, those were the two corrections.
I think we've all congratulated the wastewater treatment plant on the award they received online. Publicly remind everybody that the wastewater treatment plant received an award as one of the best treatment plants in the state. So it's very, very nice. Zoning and code enforcement. Permit
I-
report.
Yeah, I have one for my favorite neighbor, Brenda Tanner. I mean, I walk the dog by there once a day. There's been no activity. I mean, no painting, no tree removal, the car's still there. I mean, Shane said, do we have to refile a complaint? I know you talked to her, and she said she was gonna do these things, but, you know, it's been like that for a number of years.
Yeah, the car, we were told it was her ex-husband's, who she was trying to get a title for, so
Right.
she could turn it into cars for nonprofit, whatever the nonprofit is. The painting, obviously, she
Well-
quoted the weather, and the tree was supposed to happen. But we were told other things during that conversation that did not occur as well.
So what is the borough's next step?
I mean, at this point, if there's no resolution, then we'll basically have to file, knowing now that we have a valid and up-to-date address.
Yeah.
And
I mean, painting, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, they're not gonna paint in the winter time, I guess you put it off long enough so the paint's not gonna happen in the winter time. But, car could get removed, tree could
Right.
get removed, and a tree removed today. Snow and all.
Yeah, I have her contact information, so I can try, and after that, just send me enforcement notices.
We're still on, are we on code enforcement reports? We're done with permits?
Yes.
Yeah, and I'd ask you to keep up with that last one. I know there isn't much that can be done during the winter when it comes to, you know, painting and caulking windows, and you and I discussed the fact of snow removal, and I guess possibly put something in the next newsletter, because we do have an ordinance that says that sidewalks must be cleared of ice and snow, within 24 hours after the last snowflake falls. So please be aware of that, because you can be cited for that. You're keeping your neighbors that are out walking dogs safe. I saw a lady this week, one of the sidewalks was not done, and she slipped and went down on her knee, and the dog got loose, so it was due to that sidewalk not being done. So please try to keep up with that. If you have a problem, there are kids, I'm sure, that would, elderly, that would take a couple of bucks to remove snow. At least I would hope. I know we did when we were kids.
Yeah, it's getting fewer and further.
I know, it's tough. But I would ask you to stay up with that last one, if you would, because it's really downgrading the neighborhood.
I know there's different reports in the back.
Yeah, so we're transitioning to the new format. So the ones that are listed on the first two pages are the ones that we're just hanging on to until they're resolved, and then as new complaints are filed and received by the borough office, they're being processed through this method. So basically, that breaks down the code enforcement issue, any kind of violation, provides the picture, and then provides when the site visits occurred and what the result was.
What does proponent mean?
For
Rawls, under Rawls it says proponent.
filing.
So this was filed by someone, okay.
I'm not sure I would list that, because I think that under the right to know law, you don't have to divulge the name or the contact information of the complainant.
Well, this is
This is public record, if it isn't part of our agenda,
not the code enforcement part.
it's part of our agenda. our council's looking at it, I'd be hard pressed to say that that's not a public record.
But that could be, that could be redacted.
Could be.
Okay.
I don't know that I would put that in writing to be divulged.
Can you let us know when times are for court hearings to, just an email?
Yeah,
I think we asked for that before.
yeah, but
I don't think it's
I think I
necessary to
sent the
put
one
it
out
on
for
that.
the revised.
Yeah, and then it got canceled, I
Yeah,
think.
but, okay. I'll
I
send
don't,
it out again.
I don't remember seeing for the February
Yeah.
ones.
Anything else on code enforcement? Any development? Mr. Ross, recreation?
Yeah, not much to go over. We did not have a meeting last month. I'm not gonna have a quorum, so our next meeting will be tomorrow. I did just print out a couple of the activities that's going on, either going on or coming up this summer. Summer playground. This is a 4-day event over the course of 6 weeks this summer with different themes, be from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. This is at the New Freedom Community Center and Mars Goodfellow Park, ages 5 to 12. Again, all this information can be found on the MyRec software. Southern York County Recreation, they're going to have some speakers coming up. This particular one is at Shrewsbury Township. That's on February 26th from 7 to 8:30. That is free, no tickets required, and this one's about York County, York history, 250th anniversary of the 250th Declaration of Independence, Article of Confederation, and some other information about Marquis de Lafayette. I said that right?
You did,
Maybe.
pretty sure.
Turn that on.
Didn't they already have that one?
No, this
There was one at the Scout Building, I think, that was exactly the
They did
same.
have one that was not for this one, that was a different
I
topic.
thought this one was for the Hex Hollow.
That's the one.
That one,
Now,
I printed out.
the one that you're talking about is for February, Ross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hex Hollow, January 22nd from 7 to 8:30 p.m. That is also free, no tickets required, also at the Shrewsbury Township Building. They'll be having 2 individuals speak at that one. Additional prints. Team Puzzle Competition, January 26th from 1 to 3:30 p.m. That's at the New Freedom Community Center in the Lions Room. Participation is teams of 2 to 4 people. Registering again online, and you're racing against others to complete a 750-piece puzzle. Just talked to Gina about this one. I think she's been working with Rick Garvey and some other individuals with pickleball for a pickleball tournament, March 23rd. This one's on, that's a Sunday, 9:30 a.m., and that will be at the New Freedom Community Center. This is an adult Easter egg hunt, 21 and over. Hunt for tickets to win local beer, wine, gift cards, and more. That'll be Saturday, April 12th from 7 to 9 p.m. That is at Miller Park. And I think I mentioned this one in a previous meeting, trip to Italy. We already had the informational meeting. The departure will be on November 2nd and returning on November 10th. Any other information can be found online. So I do have these if anybody was interested or might know somebody that's interested. I'll have these up here. And we have our next meeting right here in New Freedom tomorrow at 6 p.m.
And there were, what, 4,000 attendees at the line dancing?
80 at the line dancing, and pickleball registration is up to above 60. I did have just as a side note, a quick conversation with Gina, and plan on talking to some pickleball individuals tomorrow. At what point does that need to be capped? Because it might get to be too many people, then people are standing around uninterested and might feel it's a waste. So I'm going to talk to pickleball tomorrow to get their input on what, if anything, that should be.
Right, to split it up into different sessions, I guess.
Well, there's already
It's hard to do.
two a day.
It's already quite a few.
Yeah. Yeah, line dancing, 80, that continues to grow. That was, I think, just 60 last week, or maybe 2 weeks ago.
Last week was the first. Last week was the first.
Okay, so that's, that continues to go up.
Yeah, pickleball, there's not 80 people there at any one time.
Well,
Usually,
pickleball was 60.
it might be 30 people that are there at any one time.
Pickleball was signed up, was 60 so far.
Yeah, they'll sign up, but they're not all, they don't all play at the same time.
But that's why I want to get their input on how busy the sessions are right now and how we should proceed with that.
They kind of sit out and they go, everybody gets along and they sit out after they play for a while until the next.
That's what I've heard. I've heard many good things about the program that we've had now for a couple of
Yeah,
years.
they really self-regulate that whole program. Do you anticipate a problem? I've noticed that there's been a lack of attendance at your rec meetings, that you didn't have a quorum. Is that something you anticipate as a problem?
I hope not. We are, of course, down one member, which we should be
Sure, yeah.
reaching out to fill.
The quorum for you guys is how many, 5?
Yeah,
Yeah,
8,
because
yeah,
you have
8,
yeah.
so 5.
Or 8, yeah. I'm just hoping it doesn't go like the old rec did. We had to change it from 7 down to 5
Yeah,
members.
well, I
so
don't
that
think we
they
can
get a quorum.
change this without Shrewsbury and New Freedom.
Oh, no, I'm just hoping you do.
Yeah.
Because your
hopefully-
bylaws state that, somebody can't miss more than 3 meetings a year.
Unless it's excused, correct.
So I'm hoping, knock on wood, that everybody's really
Correct.
into
It's also, I think
making
it's
this
3
work.
consecutive.
Right.
So this is a side note with that. We do have the 2025 meeting schedule on the agenda for tomorrow, so that people then can plan for meetings next year.
Thank you. We have a senior, it's interesting, the demographics. Does everyone have this? You were going to say something?
Yeah, that's just other correspondence.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting though, and especially the growth in seniors. I mean, 13% in 2010 and 23%. It's a 10% increase, 65 plus in 2022. It's in 10 years. So yeah, I'm one of them right there. I'm right here. So, and homeowners, senior homeowners are 585, 35% of homeowners are seniors. Anyway, just interesting information. Business development, I don't think there is anything. Mr. Mayor, you said about EMS and...
Yeah, EMS and fire, fire department, I was at their meeting and swore in their new officers last Thursday. They've starting their plans for some fundraising for the spring and summer. Of course, the barbecue, chicken barbecue and beef barbecue. They're getting ready for that, some other functions. They are looking currently to receive some bids for the new tower truck. They are ready to go forward with that. EMS, I thought it was very important that you get this list I think it was an addendum to your packet. Because what we did last year was we got together with the other municipalities and said EMS, this is their budget for the year. You're hopefully going to pay your portion of EMS based on the number of calls for the year. Well, here is the number of calls for the year. My big concern right now is the number of calls that are going out to Baltimore County. You see that 203 calls went out to York County.
Baltimore County?
Or Baltimore County. Shrewsbury Township, again, is the highest, uses their services the highest, like almost triple what New Freedom uses.
Again, Spirit, just to remind everyone, Spirit Trust is in Shrewsbury Township, so they get a lot of calls for assists, pickups. They actually are, I don't know how.
Part of that's in, was part of that in the borough and part of the township? I thought Zimmerman was the only part that's in the township.
There might be a driveway that's in, I think, though.
Yeah, there are quite a number of calls that do go into there on a daily basis.
Yeah.
There in the courtyards.
Yeah.
And most of those are med alerts that, accidentally go off. But you can see the number of calls per municipality on here.
I mean, not that they're not calls, they are, but I mean, I'm just saying there is a reason why.
Oh, absolutely, there's a reason why. I just would like to know, I don't understand why we're getting so many for Baltimore County. I really don't. I'm gonna ask a few questions about that. But that's your, for this month, the ALS, BLS calls, people, will go on a call and somebody will refuse. You can see we had 45 that canceled. There were only
620 year-to-date
canceled, yeah.
It's a lot of manpower and gas to get canceled.
To get canceled, you're absolutely right. What they do try to do is get those people to at least agree to some type of an assessment. Blood pressure, heart rate, minimal statistics to make sure that person shouldn't be treated at the hospital or need further assistance.
Kim, I
Missed
don't know,
calls really aren't that many.
I don't know if you know the answer to this, but do we know how many times Baltimore County comes up here, or do they?
They don't,
No. Even
other than, unless it would happen to be Maryland line.
or associated with a fire, I think, you might see them then.
No.
I haven't seen them ever.
Nope, they don't. 60, for some reason, is a minimally staffed, and they really don't go out that much. And if they do go out, they ask for assistance. So I think that's where a lot of these Baltimore, or Maryland, Baltimore County calls are coming from.
Hey, Kim, are these other two pages the knock boxes?
Now, those are the calls for each individual
Call. Yeah, it's your
Call
call
box,
box,
right.
That's the first due.
Okay.
right. So I think that's very interesting to take a look at, and I think, Andrew, you'll probably, I don't know, you don't do any billing for that, do you? For the, I'll get together with Abby from EMS, because I would imagine they'll send out a bill to each municipality for their share of what the budget is for 2025. Sir?
Do we know what call box Baltimore County is?
60?
Well, you said 60, but 60 is not listed.
60 is the station.
There's no 60s on the second page.
61 is Shrewsbury.
Right, so there are none that are listed there.
I don't know if they would have that information in.
60 is the station number.
I guess I
Down
was,
in
I
here,
guess,
outside here.
I guess my actual question is, are we second due in Baltimore County? I mean,
No.
no? What are we?
No,
Just
At one
mutual aid.
time, at one time, we were fifth due at the light there at Freeland Road.
okay. So fifth.
Yeah, we
We're
were.
still, and we're
They
still,
have changed, but
just seems like an awful lot of calls to be.
well, you got Keeney Mill Road, you cross over the line, you know, that's going from Pennsylvania right into a little bit of Maryland. We get quite a few down off Freeland, Freeland Road. Now, I do understand that Maryland line has a part-time paramedic, but during the day, I don't know that they even have that many people to run. They mainly are running at night, and the bulk of that's fire.
Just seems like 203 is just,
That's what I'm saying. I want to talk to Abby and see what's going on there and why.
Just to get a complete picture, you should probably see who's covering for Rose Fire Company then too. Because you have 237
Well, it'll be
calls.
whoever's second due. It could be Stewartstown, it could be Glen Rock that covers for us.
So when you, yeah, but I guess the question is, when you're gonna bill your budget based on calls, is it net calls or is it gross calls?
Gross calls.
So are they gonna bill you back for cover calls? that they
no,
cover
no,
for
they
you?
never, we don't ever get it.
Right.
We've never gotten one
No.
yet.
It's just something to take into consideration, because I'm dealing with this with a couple places where they wanna send bills out, and the other side saying, wait a second, we cover for you X amount of times. Are you just gonna trade?
No, it's, Shrewsbury Township and Shrewsbury Borough does not have EMS. So those are the major municipalities that are utilizing our service, and we want to make sure if they're doing 70% of the calls, they're paying 70% of the budget.
Right, but they have no legal obligation to do so, right?
No, we've come to an agreement. It's kind of an intergovernmental agreement,
Okay.
intergovernmental, got the gentleman's agreement.
Well, it's in writing, so,
Yeah, it is in writing.
so that's a good thing. Did you have anything on the rental housing and occupancy ordinance?
Andrew has a copy, and he and I are going over some additions and omissions, since he did have one over in Spring Grove. So we're kind of knocking our heads together and saying, well, no, this really isn't something that we feel we want to do. And probably have a final copy for your perusal next month.
Did we, on the board and commission vacancies, do we have,
Well, yeah, so this committee was added following the last meeting, when we talked about having a little bit more of a process to fill vacancies. So the 4 that are listed are the current vacancies that need to be filled. We do have interested residents in the Recreation Commission appointment as well as the Planning Commission appointment. And I think we have we will need somebody for property maintenance appeals. We went the whole year without an alternate, so for zoning hearing board, that's not as important. So I think the discussion was to actually, this is not a vacancy board.
no?
This is just a committee to review the residents that are interested in appointment, present that information to council, and then council make that decision.
When will we be able to fill the Recreation Commission? Because I know we had somebody who was interested.
Well, I guess that's part of the process, though. The process, are we always advertising advertising, or are we just using what's been submitted? And is the committee going to review those applicants and then make that recommendation to council? That's the process I thought we were trying to
Right.
move through to.
I thought, we should be advertising. We had, out of respect, we said we were going to wait a couple of weeks for the Recreation Commission, but then we should be advertising.
Yeah, we already have someone
Oh, okay.
submitted as well ahead of that.
I have an objection here. Everything you just talked about was decided outside of the meeting. You're forming a committee to fill vacancies that should be transparent and be done out in the open before the council. There should be a policy on council seats, boards, committee, whatever they are. I feel that there should be a policy, so we're not wondering how to fill it. But that should be done by putting it out to the people. The interested people come here to the whole council as a whole, not to a select couple behind closed doors that then come to the rest and say, this
That's
is
what
what
we
we
said,
think.
that's what we said last month. We were gonna have a list of people, and they were going to come. In fact, I think the mayor said he wanted to.
But the email sounded like we're gonna form a committee, like there's gonna be 3 council
No.
members
That email
that.
specifically said this is not a decision that is being made through electronic communication. It specifically said that this is just an idea, do you want, something you want to pursue? And then it's on the agenda for council to consider. If you say no, you say no.
A
And now
committee,
you're gonna read me the email that I wrote.
yeah, a committee for this will need to be developed. That's why I just made the statement, because that's the only information that I've got. So that's why I just made the statement.
Now, what,
How can it be behind closed doors when you have council members that are going to be appointed to a committee, coming back to the entire council as a whole and saying, we went through the process, there were this many individuals, we feel that because of X, Y, and Z, this person would be the right fit for the job.
Because it should be out in the sunshine, transparency, that
Committee-
everybody
committee
says that
meeting
they
is public.
always want, so that all of us can get a flavor and get a
No one
rapport
ever
and get a
said
feeling.
no one ever said that that committee meeting was going to be behind closed doors.
Did
made
you
that
hear,
assumption.
did you hear the solicitor? He
Committee
said
meetings are
committee
also
meetings-
public meetings and have to be advertised and open to the public.
It
and
should-
I thought we said last month that we were going to advertise and have people come in. We were gonna get their resumes, pick who we wanted, you know.
Yes, and have them come in, like they would be sitting out there and
Yeah, that's
have them come
fine.
and talk. But then this says a committee for this will need to be developed. That's taking what we said and now it's gonna be in a committee and not sure who decided that outside of a meeting. But I don't think it should be a select couple
I
council
don't think
members.
any of us discussed that. I wasn't aware of it. We
Somebody decided it.
we didn't
It wasn't a
talk.
decision.
It wasn't a decision.
It
It's
was
just
saying,
saying,
if you go this route, you will need to develop a committee. You like to leave out details.
Where's if? A committee for this will need to
On
be
the agenda
developed.
for your consideration. Do you want to do something productive, or do you want to argue about it all night?
Okay, I think you need to check yourself because you're becoming a bit rude with me and I don't appreciate it.
Well, it goes both ways.
I'm not, how am I not being rude?
Oh, I know.
all right, let's stop and take a breath. Let's just, everybody take a breath. What we're trying, I think what we said last meeting, what we're trying to implement is, number one, we're going to advertise and hopefully get more than one person to come forward. Number two, we would have them come to a council meeting and present themselves and say, you know, I'd like to be on the rec commission. We do have, I think, 1 or 2 people that have actually just sent a resume in months ago, you know, that wanted to do something. So they would be included in this mix. And then they would come in and say, this is what I want. Now, the problem is, that we've always had, is when 3 people come in and they're sitting right there, and then we're gonna vote. And it seems a little bit rude that they've put themselves out there and now we're voting on which one. But that's just part of,
That
that's
has
just,
to be done in the public.
that's just part of life.
Well, yeah,
That's
if you
just part
have
of it.
three,
But I'm just
two aren't
saying-
gonna be picked
Two are
regardless,
not
however you
gonna be
do it.
picked, and we could say, we'll make you alternates or whatever, and keep them in reserve, and that would work too. So I think that meets what you're saying, and that meets what I would like to see, and I think that is what we should do. So my statement was going to be, are we advertising for all of these? That's what I was asking.
Is advertising Savvy Citizen?
That we got a
the Borough
newsletter coming
site,
out.
The
We can
newsletter,
put it in
those,
the newsletter,
we
yeah.
talk about advertising.
Absolutely. I don't think we should do newspaper, because it's gonna not reach the right market, but.
And this is standard, every time we have a vacancy, it's going to be advertised.
Yeah, we could do,
Going
we
forward.
could probably, well, we could probably do a resolution that which
And
would
then
codify it, or
Something
at
we
least.
did with Denny, when there was that vacant, I think it was Denny's seat, it became open, looked back to the primary, I guess it would have been, and the highest person that got the vote, or was that in the general, I don't remember when it was, but we looked back, say, who was gonna fill an empty seat? Well, we just had an election, so
Well, that was kind of a,
person that got
yeah,
the
that one
highest
was
votes.
a no-brainer kind of a thing, I think.
but is that the policy?
No, I don't think it's a policy, no. I guess we, I
There
guess,
should be a there,
Yeah.
yeah, there should be a policy.
I don't think we can predetermine elections, but I mean, it was such an overwhelming number that Denny got that it just seemed,
Well, it absolutely
that's why I
is. It's
proposed
what the
it.
people, no matter what the number is, the next person in line for votes, that's what the people voted for.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't
There's
know how.
certainly two different issues,
Yeah.
though.
It
Because
is
if
two
it's an
different
elected
issues.
office versus an
Yeah.
appointed office.
Right.
You may want to treat them differently. It doesn't hurt to have a policy. You may run into a situation where you have a large number of people who want to fill that position. Do you want to spend an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours interviewing them all before the Borough Council? I mean, I'm talking about the successful stuff. I'm not talking about the ones, twos, twos. I understand if you have ones or twos, it makes sense to do it here. But there is some merit to weeding it out.
I don't think we've ever had anything where you had over, you can count it on one hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then if
Not
you're gonna
with zero
say
discussion.
how long you advertise for, you should probably say how long you're gonna advertise it for, because it seems like we always argue about nitty
Sure.
gritty. So say how long it's gonna be, and is it a 1 month period? Now, the downside to that is if you need to put a third person on the zoning hearing board or, enough to have the quorum, then you're waiting according to your policy. So there are pros and cons to policies.
Some of these I think have to be, or should be appointed within 30 days specifically with rec, so I don't know if
The
we
elected
can.
office, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we
I
can use the
think the
newsletter.
policy would be you advertise for 2 weeks or until you get at least one candidate. Because you may not get anybody. I mean, that just
That's
happens.
happened before.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm surprised that we're having this whole conversation, because I thought this is what we had decided before.
Okay, well,
I don't,
okay, so we're good,
So-
right? We're gonna advertise, and I think that, I mean, for 2 weeks or until we get at least one candidate, and then that candidate or however many candidates can come to a borough council meeting.
We'll submit their letters and we'll get their
Right,
letters emailed
exactly.
to us before the meeting that we can review them.
Yep.
I thought that's
That
the
was the
direction that
intent.
we were going.
And it sounds like you don't want a committee, though. It sounds like it's a
Right
full
here.
board.
Yeah.
An agenda, a committee. You act
Now,
like
what
I'm
did- what-
just making
what?
it up or
Does
something.
anybody
No, it was
recall-
just an alternative that he was presenting.
Does anybody recall if there's anything in the bylaws, in your bylaws for
I
the
think it's
Southern
30
Rec?
days.
Oh, that's
sorry?
good.
I think it's 30 days.
30 days.
I think.
All right, so we really need to move out smartly and advertise.
Sure.
Okay. And I think you said we had one, so. Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, I have a question. Now, when it comes to rec, would rec, say they had 3 people, rec would initially speak with these 3 individuals and come to council with a recommendation?
No,
No,
you appoint
council
your
appoints,
representative.
so, yeah.
I wasn't sure.
Yeah,
How
Should-
they're-
should-
council-
Township shouldn't be having a say in who we look at or appoint. or
Well,
whatever.
yeah, that's a good point,
Yeah, although if you know anyone, have them submit a letter. Anything else? Okay, we already talked about the senior housing profile and stock the leader. Public comment on non-agenda items.
Is it public comment on non-agenda items? Thank you.
Good evening, Devin Taylor, general comment and inquiry. I'm going to start out with saying you'll never cease to amaze me, Mr. Bobby, lengths at which you'll go to hide your identities and call me by name in regards to the lawsuit of you four, not even this agency as a whole. I am here tonight as a resident and citizen journalist seeking to engage in the public comment period. While extensive debate may not always be necessary, I believe it is crucial for the continuation of our business that all individuals be granted the opportunity to respond in accordance with Robert's Rules of Order, Title 65 PA Consolidated Statute. Therefore, I move that this council not proceed to the next order of business until the present items have been, excuse me. I'm so moved that the council not proceed to the next order of business until all present have had an opportunity to comment, respond, or debate, engage in debate on this matter. It is both appropriate and just to allow residents and fellow public servants the chance to respond following my remarks. I would also like to remind the chair and administrator of their obligation to report back to their community and the council on these inquiries in a timely fashion, and to ensure these matters are accurately recorded in the minutes, including an intended response date from the borough. Should I not receive these responses within 30 days, I will be compelled to initiate legal action against this agency. I will provide a copy of this statement to council upon conclusion to prevent any confusion or misunderstanding. Given historical precedents, it is clear that not all members pay adequate attention to public comment or have selective memory, highlighting the need for meticulous and accurate minutes. During my review of public records, I discovered that 4 council members, Andrew Bobby, Ryan Ross, Dennis Sarpin, and David Reisdorf, are listed as defendants in a civil rights lawsuit in the Middle District of Pennsylvania in Harrisburg under case number 124CV01938 SES. This marks the second such lawsuit against members of this body within 4 years, raising the question, how many more allegations or violations will it take before legitimate changes are made? These defendants have retained Andrew Rongaus from Siena Law, a firm which notably represented council members in Rifton v. New Freedom, another civil rights case where members of this council were accused of deceiving the public and circumventing their rights. Here I seek clarity. How did you 4 come to be represented by Andrew Rongaus and Siena Law? And was there any intention to disclose this lawsuit to the public and remain in council? Or was there an expectation that these issues would be concealed by administrative manipulation? The public and council have right to timely information regarding these matters, including how the legal fees are being funded, whether from borough funds, insurance plans, or personal resources. Furthermore, I address an incident involving the Southern Regional Police Department and Veteran Crisis Management, who on Friday, January 10th, 2025, attempted to execute a welfare check on your resident based on false premises. I sit before you as proof of life, affirming that Devin Taylor has not harmed himself and is very much alive. In conclusion, I urge this council to consider appointing a new chair who is not currently a defendant in federal court proceedings, and it would be prudent to not appoint any such person to this position until they are cleared of any wrongdoing or violations. To close, I'll leave you all with a Bible verse that I sometimes think about. So then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send? And who will go for us?" And I said, "Here am I. Send me." Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Updated anyway, you're an administrator.
Right? Anyone else? I would entertain a motion.
Oh, could I say one thing? I would like to
thank all of our our EMTs and the ambulance people and the fire company and the police, because when my wife passed away, I mean, I'm telling you, I couldn't ask for anything any better. They were there, and I mean it quick. And they did everything they could, but it was just not gonna happen. But I wanted to let them know how I'm glad that I've always supported them, because never thought I was gonna have to need their services this soon.
Appreciate that, Burnell. I hope you're doing great.
I'm hanging in there.
I've told you before, call me if you need anything.
Just getting to be an old man, you know what I mean?
I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The vote is aye.